Good morning. And welcome to those of you in person and those that are online. My name is Bruce Baird, and I serve on the board of directors here at UoT of Tustin. This is my last Sunday for opening the service as a board member, as it has been a privilege, exciting, and fun serving for the last 3 years. Thanks to my fellow board members, the staff, our minister team, for all the energy and commitment to help create so many positive happenings here in our spiritual community. In the last 3 years, we are debt-free. Hours of planning and negotiations have created a soon-to-be preschool on our campus. We have seen great growth in our youth and family ministry. We have a new welcome center in the open door. We now have an active and very helpful advisory committee. We are financially solid, and Sundays and special events are just getting better and better. I know that exciting and magical things are in store for the next 3 years and beyond. Thank you for allowing me to serve. There will be an opening for a new board member to replace me. So please give this prayerful consideration and see Gary Godshall or Doug Anderson about this opportunity. So now, a reminder, please do silence your phones. Reverend Shar is with us today. And her talk is part 2 of Cultivating Inherent Goodness. Our musical guests today are the Voices of Unity Choir, under the direction of Carol Roman, and with accompaniment by Jenny Chow. Next Sunday is Super Bowl Sunday, as in I love a bowl of soup. Super Bowl Sunday. And our Unity of Tustin Sunday Supper team will be outside today, beginning the annual collection to benefit the quarterly meal and supplies that they provide to the local community. The need is even greater this year for support because Second Harvest is no longer able to provide assistance. This is the only fundraiser for the year, so we appreciate your support. Also, the usher team needs help. They're missing some people, and if you would consider serving as an usher during the service, see Liz Allen or any usher that you see here today. Liz is right back there. This coming Wednesday will be the start of our next We Space group. Mary Jean has an announcement. Mary Jean?
So Linda made a wonderful announcement last week about WeSpace and the impact it's made on her life, and I just wanted to say a couple things. One is, if your meditation practice seems tired or you just feel like you're going through the motions, or maybe you don't have a meditation practice, this is a very accessible program, especially for new people. So think about becoming part of our WeSpace group this Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Also, some people say, well, I can't be there for all 8 sessions. That's perfectly okay. It's helpful if you can be for all 3 first sessions. But if you have times you need to miss, that's understandable because 8 weeks is a long time. And also, if you've completed the WeSpace program, please join us. You can be part of our group again, and you know how meaningful that is. So now, for something completely different, as they used to say, guess what the temperature is today in Kansas City? It's 30 degrees. And tonight, when Shara arrives in Kansas City, it's going to be 14 degrees. So we have a little gift for her.
Oh my goodness! A real coat.
We're pretty sure she's going to need this.
I will tell you a funny story. I was taking a walk with Zelda on Friday, and she came over. And I was telling her about all these great coats I bought at Banana Republic at 75% off because no one needs them in California. And I'm like, let me show you. And they're like a nice dress coat and a nice trench coat. And Zelda's like, you know, like, that's not gonna cut it. She gave me one of those faces, like, you don't do fashion in Kansas City. This is what I need. Oh, wonderful. Oops. Thank you. Mwah, thank you. What a...
Today is the first Sunday of the month, and that means that it's Birthday Sunday. So everyone that has a birthday in February, please stand so we can sing you happy birthday. And now, let us stand for the congregational song.
Hello. All right. At the first of the month, you always get a new congregational song. Now, I know this is scary for some of you, but this is a really pretty one. So, and there's 3 verses. So the first verse, you may want to listen, and then you can jump in on the second and third.
Good morning. My name is Jim Perry. I'm one of your prayer chaplains, and it's my honor to open the service today by lighting the Christ Consciousness candle and reading the daily word with you. And it is my honor to light this candle with you. I know that we all are on spiritual journeys together, and here at this moment we're all coming together as a community. And it's my honor to light this candle together with us. And the daily word today is a good one. So, okay, here it is. Okay. Intention. Our affirmative statement is, my intention is to act with love and kindness. Our biblical reference is Jeremiah 9:24. I act with steadfast love, justice, and righteousness in the earth. For in these things I delight, says the Lord. And from the daily word. Setting an intention, deciding at the start of the day to be loving, considerate, and compassionate colors all my interactions and activities. It's making a commitment to myself that no matter how the day unfolds, no matter what happens, and no matter what other people may do, I will remain steadfast. I begin with God. After a time of prayer and meditation, I envision divine love opening my heart and kindness inspiring my words. The sacred connection I feel in prayer elevates me above the cares and concerns of daily life, making it easier for me to be serene and unperturbed by any irritations I encounter. My intention is to carry the gifts of spiritual living with me always, my blessings to share. And once again, our affirmative statement is, my intention is to act with love and kindness. Together, my intention is to act with love and kindness.
Thank you, Jim. And happy Sunday, Unity of Tustin. Happy Sunday online. We certainly are the church of there's a lot going on here. We were blessed to have Kirk Reeve to celebrate his life yesterday. And today we are blessed to have hospitality provided by Mr. and Mrs. Doug and Donna. And we are so grateful for you and your union and your love and your role modeling and your faith fall into love. Yes. One of my prior teachers, he used to say that he's part of the church of there's something going on here. And there's something going on here. You know, I've told the story of Kirk saying he'd visit my first Sunday, and then the lighter got, buried and missing. And then last week, we had the Emmy Award-winning episode of Lighting the Christ Candle. It was actually quite well done. I thought Jim was going to say, and now I'm going to attempt to light the Christ candle, but he has too much faith for that. So, it occurred to me and Deanna, we talked about this after. That was the day Kathy Andrews passed, and just acknowledging that loss is it's still so very alive and meaningful for our community. But it was also, I think the Christ candle meddling is trending among our dearly departed. And, it's something to look out for. Everyone was coming with the lighter, getting the lighter to work, but then John Claude's like, there's no wick. There's no wick. And this is the stuff we can't make up, right? That there's something going on here, and we've got to pay attention. You know, even in my own life, today is my penultimate Sunday service. So my last service will be on the 22nd. And, you know, I will be coming back as a guest in April, May, and June, but I'll be as a guest. It's not like we're going to have a going away party in June. You know, there's an ending. There's an ending coming, and there's a lot of divine order to that. Divine order of how I got here to Unity of Tustin, not something I jockeyed for or predicted or planned, and how I'm leaving Unity of Tustin. It's not something I jockeyed for, predicted, or planned. It was following those Hansel and Gretel crumbs of divine order. And that is so much the way many of our lives unfold. We listen, we attune, we follow, we say yes or we say no, depending on our alignment with what we're attuning as the still small voice. So for our opening prayer, I would like to bring that in. Bring in the affirmation that that divine order is working for all of our highest goods. And we participate with the divine word, with the daily word of intention. We seed the unfolding with our prayerful intention, and then there's this co-creative manifestation that takes root. And I do know in our community this impending transition is unfolding with tremendous grace because we are in our hands. Mary Jean, Reverend Blair, and Craig are solid in carrying that harmony of the spiritual ministry team through this transition. Our community is alive in servant leadership and ways of being empowered. And we have initiatives that were planned for 2026 that are still going uninterrupted because we have the network in place to make that happen. So it is, that's divine order too. Yeah. So let's breathe that in. Let's take a deep breath and just feel that exhale. I always like to remind and remember the root word for breathing, the inspiriting, the inspiration. That called or uncalled, known or unknown, we are being inspirited in each and every breath. That is the point in which we can always turn our consciousness back to source and love and faith. And feel yourself cooperating with that opportunity right now. Yes, I am being inspirited with and through the breath of love, the breath of Christ, the breath of God. And we are part of that breath. We are part of that inspiriting. And is part of the fabric of life itself, of creation itself. And we hold and affirm that the highest good is unfolding for all of us now. And we can see it with excitement and curiosity and wonderment and awe. How are we being guided for our individual and collective next steps of evolution, of unfolding into greater love, into discovering more opportunities to be our best selves? And we know and affirm it is already done. And we can move forward in the consciousness of the divine order already realized beyond our understanding. Let's take another deep breath in. And we release it all into the mystery, into the hands of Spirit. And with great gratitude, we say, thank you, God. Amen. And now it is my honor to invite Kit Brown up to do a transformational story for us. So as many of you know, on occasion, We have members of our community come and share their transformational story, some of their evolution and unfolding, and in particular, how our community has helped facilitate some of those spiritual milestones to concretize how and why we matter. That we matter, that we are transforming lives and inspiring people to make a positive difference in our world, including our very own lives. So to tell her transformational story, I warmly invite up Kit Brown.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for Shara for inviting me to give this talk. I'm a little shaky, but, and I have a script, otherwise I will go off anywhere. So I'm someone who needs a spiritual community. I need it like I need food and water. And in 2021, I was spiritually starving in Tustin. Many of you know I spend about half the year in England every year. My husband's English, and we still have property there. And we used to go vacationing for 2 or 3 weeks at a time when we were both working, but he always wanted to split the time pretty evenly between both countries. He's got family there. And so we started doing that in 2018. Now, it sounds wonderful in theory, but I found it real difficult in practice. It's hard to maintain community when you're not there. And it got worse when the pandemic hit. So September 2021, it was time for me to return to America after 5 months in England. And I didn't want to come back. I told my really close friend that I felt like I had nothing to return to in California. I had no purpose there. And she said, well, so what are you going to do about it, Kit? And I said, well, you know, I was thinking about checking out this church called Unity of Tustin, but they're really Christian. I was very aware of Unity because I used to come here to meditate on Thursday evenings before the pandemic. And I had attended a few services here and then over the years, you know, like church shopping. But I didn't think it was a good match for me because they kept mentioning the Christ. And I wasn't raised a Christian, and I always got in trouble when I visited churches, and I went, what is this thing about if I don't believe this, I'm going to burn in hell? So it was off the list. But the first morning I was back in California, and I was sitting meditating, as I always do, and I was miserable. But as soon as I got quiet, took some breaths, the still small voice said, Kit, remember you told your friend you were going to visit Unity? I went, yep, well, it was a Sunday morning. I pulled out my phone and found out what time service was, said I can do this, took a shower, got dressed, and made it to the church on time. It was a Sunday morning, of course. It was Welcoming Sunday. And Shara was giving a talk about what unity was and what it wasn't. And when she got to the part where she said, and do we believe that if you don't believe like we do, you burn in hell? Hell no, she said. You all laughed when she said that. And I went, that's just my work. And fortuitously, there was a spirit group starting in about a week. And Bill and Arlene invited me to join their group, and I said yes. And it was wonderful. There were more than a dozen people there, and I was just welcomed. I really felt at home. And then Kathy Corner, who many of you know, invited me to join the usher team. And I'd only been coming for about a month. And I didn't know anything about ushering, and I'd never done it before, so I thought, yeah, I'll meet people. And I did, and it was wonderful. The job comes with free hugs, and it is wonderful to be serving. And I immediately started feeling like, actually, this is now my church. And then when Craig and Mary Jean announced the call for meditation leaders for Sunday services, morning meditations, I felt it had my name on it. I'm a longtime meditator, but I'd never led a meditation. It's like, ugh. But I said yes anyway. And I now let Spirit guide my meditations. And I have to tell you that leading the meditations and holding the space in this beautiful room for morning meditations is just like nothing I've ever experienced anywhere else before. I told Mary Jean I'd pay money to do this. It's so good. I do. And I joyfully do. And then 2 years ago, I heard the call to become a prayer chaplain. Now, there was no way I could qualify because I'm only here half the year. And, I read the requirements. And I even told God, you've got the wrong number. But the still small voice went, well, kid, you could go to the orientation. And I thought, no, everybody will know I can't do this. Like, I shouldn't take up space. But I showed up anyway. And then the miracle occurred. Our amazing prayer chaplain director, Bonnie Gosline, said yes to me. And now Unity of Tustin is a global prayer chaplain ministry. And when Susan Gilmore invited me to join the silent prayer team, that was just a no-brainer because the prayers just flow right from my meditations. And these are the prayers that, you fill out your little prayer request. I'm on that team that works on it. And it doesn't matter where I am on the planet. I'm connected to you with my prayers. And that is another huge, huge gift. And what else? Well, I'm about to become a WeSpace co-facilitator alongside Mary Jean and Linda. Now this, I have to tell you, this is quantum leap from where I was at the beginning of the WeSpace class last year. I thought I was signing up for a class, like a spirit group. So I took my notebook, but there were no notes to be taken. So I took roll. And my notes for about the first 3 weeks, my notes consisted of a list of the attendees. And I just wasn't getting it. I thought maybe I was wasting my time coming to this. I wasn't learning anything. But I kept showing up because that's what I do. And then there was a moment I relaxed into spirit and I let myself be held in the wee space. I felt the mystical awakening. I felt a sudden heat in the cool sanctuary. Tears I couldn't explain were running down my face, and I just felt boundaries dissolving between me and the other people in the group. It was wonderful. There's nothing like it. I was just held, and I'm always the one doing the holding. So it was really nice just to be held in the loving space of the wee space. So I had to say yes when I was invited to co-facilitate. So what I have learned is this: home is not always a place. Sometimes it's a community that keeps calling you into who you are becoming from anywhere on the planet. So Unity of Tustin became my home the moment I stopped standing at the door and I started saying yes. And my prayer is that each of you keeps listening for the quiet invitations in your own lives. And when one feels true, may you have the courage to answer from your heart and say yes. And I'll be at the welcome table after the service if anyone wants to ask any questions about the wee space and whole body mystical awakening, because it's kind of woo-woo, but it's wonderful.
Thank you, Kit. That was extraordinary. Oh, so appreciate you and your sacred yeses. Yes, beautiful. And now it is my honor to bring up John Claude to do a solo with Carol Roman.
This is the month of February, so it's Black History Month. So this song is by Sam Cooke, and it's so here we go. I was born by the river in a little town. When just like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's out there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. So I go to the movie and I go downtown. Somebody keep telling me, don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Then I go to my brother and I say, brother, help me please. But he winds up knocking me down, back down on my knees. Oh, Lord, there have been times that I thought I couldn't last for long, but now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Oh, change is gonna come. Preach there. Whew. That's a true statement. Ah, amen. Ah. Well, this talk series came about because talking to a friend, he casually mentioned something that just woke something up in me. And he talked about how one of the reasons Gandhi's nonviolence worked was because the British colonial system, which in no way was gentle or humane or just, nevertheless had within it some recognition of wanting to look like the values it espoused. It wanted to look like it abided by the law. It wanted to look like it honored human dignity and allowed free press. And this allowed Gandhi to get the recognition that awakened, that aroused the moral consciousness of the collective that had power to change the actual system. And I had never thought of that before. And Gandhi even said, to recap a little of last week, that had he been in Nazi Germany, he probably wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes. before being executed. So that there was a slight difference, even in an oppressive government, to his ability to be successful with nonviolence. And what struck me was that collective consciousness that allows justice to be possible is cultivated. The goodness underneath it is inextinguishable. We cannot extinguish it. But for it to have collective power, we have to cultivate it. And that is what spiritual communities like ours does. And it made me realize that, we matter. Like, it was a different way that I could feel that what we do and what the values we claim and the values we support and the empathy that comes from those values is the fabric that allows human suffering to matter and for us to create global collective structures to minimize the harm and pain we unnecessarily cause each other. And that, it just was deeply meaningful. As a minister devoting my life to this, having doubts sometimes of, is this really making a difference? It was, yes, it is communities like ours. It's families that really implant these human goodness. It's spiritual traditions that create the empathy that allows us to prioritize justice and sovereignty and care and being treated with respect. So I went back to the teachings of Jesus, and I just could see that this is the most salient point behind his core teaching to love thy neighbor. So Jesus' core two teachings is to love God and love your neighbor. Love God and love your neighbor. And so many of his stories are about resisting and naming dehumanization wherever it occurs. And that is the linchpin of what we are called to do. And that can be very difficult when we are exposed to violence. Because when we are exposed to violence, especially repeated violence, two things are likely to happen. It's either going to erode empathy or it's going to strengthen empathy. And we have a choice point of where are we putting our divine will. Many of you might remember that story of the two wolves and they're at battle. And the grandchild says to the grandfather, one wolf is really supporting values of love and togetherness and empathy and justice, and the other one's self-interest and status and greed. And the little boy says, Grandpa, which wolf is going to win? Do you remember the answer? The one I feed. So we have a reality where we are being exposed to different visions and experiences of violence that can erode empathy or it can awaken and arouse empathy. And the question is, which one will we feed? And how do we feed it? And what does that look like? So Jesus' teaching is to, especially in the face of violence, to always center and prioritize the humanization of the other. Because if we do not, if we collude in any way, big or small, with dehumanization, then we become that which we are resisting. And the core teaching is to prevent that from happening. So I was reflecting on this even since last week, and really looking at Jesus' audience. And what makes the teaching even more radical, he was not prioritizing love thy neighbor and do not dehumanize to those in power, trying to have those that are not in power be nice. He was giving these teachings to the Jewish people. And the Jewish people were themselves oppressed. So he was telling the oppressed, do not dehumanize your oppressor, because if you do, you will lose what is most important, even if you win. So this is the narrow gate. We can feel into how radical this teaching is. And that there's something, this inherent goodness, this stubborn ontology of goodness, this stubborn beingness of goodness that we can collude with, and that has the power to change the world as long as we cultivate it longer than the forces that want to outlast it. But it's complicated, because while the Jews were oppressed by the Romans, they also had some power and autonomy. And they had the Sanhedrin, they had temple life, and they had some autonomy as long as they paid their taxes. So the tax collectors were the most reviled individuals because they were appointed by the Romans. Some of the temple leaders were appointed by the Romans. So there was also some complicity with the system. So while Jesus was cultivating goodness among all people, he would also call out behavior that, in his words, was hypocritical. So he would call those who professed goodness but inside were being oppressive hypocrites. And this comes to the idea of being masked, which I found very interesting. So there's two things that, looking at the teachings of Jesus, seem salient to strengthen, to lean into, to cultivate. And one is resisting any dehumanization of the other. And you can think of yourself what that might look like. One labeling. Anytime we hear a group called a name that is dehumanizing, that is antithetical to love thy neighbor. So that is something that's of value, that doesn't have a place in our relationship to each other as human neighbors. And that can even be ways of making people seem othered, that seem animalistic, that seem unhuman. This is the place that it's so important that we resist. The other place is this thing about being masked. Because in our tradition, face is very important. And the word face in Hebrew, which also means present or the encounter of the whole human, face-to-face encounter, is mentioned over 2,000 times. So one of the ways we see face is Moses, when Moses has an encounter with a face-to-face encounter with God. And Moses' encounters were face-to-face, like an intimate, wholeness to wholeness. Now, there's a little caveat there, because God would say, well, Moses, I can't show you my whole face, because that would destroy you, because the brilliance is more than you can bear. But at the level that we can handle, we have face-to-face encounters with God. When Jacob has his face-to-face encounter with God, it was so transformational that he then changed his name to Israel. It changed the foundation of who he was and how he presenced. And the word hypocrite, which Jesus uses about 17 times only to talk about corrupt Pharisees, never to talk about us tried and true sinners, came from a Greek word meaning actor. In particular, the type of actor who would use different masks in order to portray different characters in the play, showing a masked self. And the mask he would admonish was whitewashed on the outside, while there were corrupt bones within, like the whitewashed tombs that were white so that people knew not to touch them so they wouldn't be unclean. So one of the other ways that we can love our neighbor is by always striving and aspiring to be unmasked. Because throughout history, executioners always wore a hood. Yeah. Ku Klux Klan wore a hood. And what the masking does is it actually makes the denial of empathy and the action possible. Because it wouldn't be possible if we showed our whole face. And we had to be face to face with that encounter. The other part of it is that when we are masked, not only does the perpetrator not get the moral arousal from the encounter with the victim doesn't get the encounter with the perpetrator. And I think this is very important. And I hope where I go with this makes some sense. But I think it's important because one of our universal teachings is I am that. Right? I am that. So when we are looking at loving our neighbor and being unmasked, we have to acknowledge that we are also the one that is masked, as well as the one that is unmasked, because we have to love our neighbor, and we are our neighbor. So what does this look like in concrete terms? Personally, I've been reflecting on how I am both benefiting from systems that are also harmful. Because there can be what I notice unhelpful righteousness in some of our responsiveness to pain we may be seeing or things that may concern us. And that righteousness is not helpful because it tries to separate the pure from the impure. And when I'm feeling righteous, I'm usually on the pure side. So, the way I live as an American in Orange County, apparently, if the whole world were to live the way I live, we would need 5 Earths. Because we don't have enough resources. There's not enough heat and air conditioning and power and rare earths and all of that to support this standard of living for our 8+ billion people on the planet. In some ways, I am benefiting from a system that is not sustainable. I benefit from buying goods and clothing that are very inexpensive because they're made in China from workers who do not necessarily have good working conditions or are being paid a wage to have a full life. Why do I bring this up? I bring this up because I think the third way, I've talked a lot about the new story, the third way. We've got to get out of the polarization. I think it comes from the healthy humility to recognize we are all entangled in the systems that we have concerns about. No one has squeaky clean hands. And to me, that brings forward a very deep compassion. Because I can move out of finger pointing and I can move into a more expansive space of what comes from the humble heart of truly embodying that there's no us in them. Truly embodying that I am that, all neighbors on some level. And it's a little anti-unity, isn't it? Because in unity, we want to bring forward the power of mind and the good, and there's a emphasis on focusing on only the good. And I don't think this is in contradiction to that. Unity was a bit of a corrective because spirituality at the time was very self-flagellating. I am a sinner, I am bad. And the Fillmores and the New Thought movement came along and said, no, we are the Christ. We have that divinity within us. And it's our birthright to claim it and live it and bring it forward. So it was a corrective to some of the kind of crumpled theology of the time that tend to be shaming and blaming. But as most things, there's usually a both end. There's usually a balance that comes forward. And with that balance, I'm sensing, we can evolve out of the righteous polarity that I see most of us fall into. Anyone here kind of get off on righteousness then now and again? I mean, am I the only one who can mainline righteousness and get my good dose and feel better then? How is that serving? How is that serving? And what did Jesus do? So let me get my notes, and then I'm gonna bring this to a new place. So I just want to kind of reiterate some things. So when there's violence, the most important point that Jesus shows us is to keep humanizing the other. And it's very hard. This is truly the narrow path. And when we recognize that we are all tangled, we're simultaneously harmed by and benefiting from some unjust systems, then the work transcends righteousness. It transcends finding moral purity. And rather, we get to cultivate the capacity to see clearly, to remain in relationship across difference, and to resist the impulse to sort ourselves into innocent victims or irredeemable perpetrators. There's this beautiful story of Zacchaeus in the Bible, and he's a tax collector. And Jesus is coming, and we're going to talk more about what that means and feels like in a bit. But Jesus is coming, and everyone's gathered because they want to experience this presence that awakens the goodness, that awakens the empathy, that awakens joy. And he's curious, and he's very short. So he climbs a tree. So he's vulnerable, and he's letting himself be seen. He's letting his face be seen. And Jesus sees him, and clearly he knows him, because he says, Zacchaeus, I'm coming to your house later for dinner. And the crowds are so disappointed in Jesus. You know, you should give him a good talking to. He's a tax collector. You should shame him like a good teacher would do so he learns his lesson. But no, Jesus recognized that slight curiosity in Zacchaeus to go face to face with Jesus' presence. And then he calls him in and embraces him. And it's in that embrace and when that Zacchaeus repents. And he gives away half of his fortune, and he says he's going to compensate those he cheated 4 times over. But it happens because of the embrace of love, even though he's a tax collector. And it's done publicly, and it's done face to face. These are the teachings that we are being given. In terms of the hiddenness in actually John's gospel, Jesus says this: light has come into the world, but people loved darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil. Everyone who does evil hates the light and will not come into the light for fear that their deeds will be exposed. But whoever lives by the truth comes into the light, so that it may be seen plainly that what they have done has been done in the sight of God. So there's some relationship Jesus is talking about with hiddenness and evil, with being masked and something being outside of love thy neighbor, that it's important to pay attention to. And then the Gospel of Thomas in saying 5 says, know what is in front of your face, and what is hidden from you will be revealed to you. There is nothing hidden that will not be revealed. So it cuts in both directions. When we see face to face what is actually before us, not our projections or our categories, everything that is hidden will be exposed. So this is why we're here to love our neighbor, but also don't look at the splinter in your neighbor's eye. Look in the log of your own, because if you're seeing your neighbor as you're splintering, you're othering your neighbor. So we take it out so we can see the wholeness of each other face to face. And when we see the wholeness, whatever is lurking back there will come out to be healed. It will come out to be shown, our biases, our own baggage. Our spiritual work is to not unmask others, but to insist on seeing all human anyway. And by insisting that we remain seeable, recognizable human, even when outside systems want to turn us into categories. So where do we go with this? Another way to see this is what emerges when we are out of that paradox. And what emerges is Jesus and Jesus' teachings. So Jesus would walk with his disciples, and hundreds and thousands of people would come because, like that palm tree at the temple of Apollo in Delos that woke up Odysseus that I talked about, that made him recognize his own goodness, that awakened and aroused his morality, that's what Jesus and the disciples would do. And then they would baptize or have an encounter of some kind. And I've been really turned on by Craig of the peace monks. And aren't they doing the same thing? They just started walking peacefully. And in that, people come because they recognize something. And I just noticed that when I really aspired to transcend anything that would get in the way of loving my neighbor, I had this idea, wouldn't it be amazing if unity as a movement created a walk where we held the baton and moved from community to community, walking across the country for peace? Now, I don't know if that's possible or not. I remember a 9-day pilgrimage to the Black Madonna in Częstochowa in my 20s, and I almost took the medical cart because of my blistered feet. We're not quite as acculturated as these monks are. Or young, although what made me not do that was, as I was complaining about my own blisters, this 75-year-old woman strode past me at a clip. And I said, no, you keep going. But these new ways start to emerge. And these new ways of being Jesus-like, and these new ways of doing something that starts to trend and maybe forms movements that are about loving God and loving our neighbor. And being, how can we be that palm tree next to the temple that awakens and arouses the goodness in each other and in others? The way our meditation gardens do, the way that our community does for us as the beloved community, and that we can do in different ways. So I wanted to end by showing a clip of the monks. And not only the monks, it's going to start, Tony's going to show it. The first person you're going to hear talk is a Baptist minister, okay? Then everyone who's talking, notice how they are being motivated by their experience of joy with the proximity. And this is the type of new story that we need, and that I affirm we are more likely to get to when we stop seeing even ourselves as all good or all bad, and we recognize us as part of a fabulous and flawed human family that is designed and admonished by Jesus to treat each other as neighbors. So show the clip, Tony.
The angel, when Jesus was born, said, "Peace on earth, goodwill toward men." And that's exactly what we need. I think that when we think about the Bible, when we think about humanity, we need to be seeking to love like we ought to love, to focus on meditation, discipline, just like the monks do, to focus on peace.
That's Pastor Ron of Catawba Baptist Church in Rock Hill, South Carolina, whose volunteers, church members, and staff mobilized in less than 24 hours to host the monks so they could rest overnight and also lead a community program. There was a lot to organize in a short amount of time as thousands showed up to welcome the monks, many sharing their own stories as we waited.
When I was 20, I bicycled across the entire United States for the small town I lived in to raise awareness for AIDS. And so now they're doing this, and it just kind of just resonated with me.
It brought overwhelming joy to my heart to see them be dedicated to take this journey for all of us.
Just being able to experience this and seeing them walk for our peace, you never know what you're going to learn when you go out, so I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, I mean, it isn't every day that you see different faces, different people come together for a common good, so it gives me hope for our generation and honestly for our future that this will bring a sense of community and faith to everybody.
It's always better to stay calm, right? Stay listening to others. Everybody have their own opinions. There's nothing to judge about.
Well, they're not coming to New York, so we said we had to get here. We had to be here. We had to stand for the cause. This is something we didn't want to miss, and we wanted to be here for it. And we wanted to stand in solidarity with the monks. So we're just happy to be here, and we can't wait to see them.
We came here for peace, love, and joy.
Long after the sun went down, the monks finally arrived, walking up the long driveway of the church, people lining the streets to welcome them, and then all gathered for a program led by the group's leader, the Venerable Banakar.
Good evening. How are we tonight? Let us all put our hands together like this so that we can receive the energy of the blessing. Now that we already asked for forgiveness from all the others, and we also forgive them, and we forgive ourselves. So now we have a new life. Is that right? We should continue doing this for the rest of our life.
After the program closed, I had the honor and the opportunity to speak directly with the Venerable Banakar. How are you feeling on your journey so far?
For this journey, I think that its turnout is really over with what I expected. At the beginning, I expected to be just some people along the road, but I have never expected this turnout. And the turnout is keep growing every day. But obviously, like thousands of people, the turnout is really great. And that I can see that everybody is seeking for peace.
And this to be a Southern Baptist church and for Buddhist monks to be here and you feel safe and welcome here, what does that say about just how open we should be with each other?
I would say this is how the world should be. The day before we went to the Capitol, we had a chance to meet with all the faith leaders, Muslim, Catholic, Christianity, and a lot at the church. So this tells me that everybody just be nice to each other, and then it doesn't matter really which religion we practice. It's all about peace that people that is meet. This is a time that all people should stand together to support each other to bring peace and kindness and compassion to this world.
As I stood on the lawn of a Southern Baptist church in front of an old wooden cross, I saw the beauty of unity. I was surrounded by all ages, races, orientations, and religious affiliations, all there to be a part of this experience.
It is my honor to bring up our Voices of Unity choir to sing We Choose Love. Thank you.
Let love be present, it's what we're made of. We choose love. We are part of each other. We are one. One choice unites us, let this be the one. We choose love. We choose love. We choose love.
And now, as we prepare for meditation, I invite everyone to take a deep breath in and exhale. And as you breathe in those words, we choose love. We choose love. We choose love. And I invite you now for a moment to imagine that Jesus and his disciples are walking through your city. And you hear about it. You hear that this prophet of love is coming through. And notice what wakes up in you. Allow yourself to be activated by the part of you that says yes to that encounter. And you decide that you will be part of the crowds. And you wake up that morning preparing yourself, your clothes, getting some provisions for the day, taking the walk down to the main road where Jesus and his disciples are expected to come. And what is it that is motivating you? What is it that prophets of peace hold that you already hold within yourself? That recognizes and gets aroused by the goodness that has always been you. And then you see Jesus coming on foot, maybe even barefoot, walking slowly in beautiful, simple cloth. And what do you experience when your eyes connect? When you encounter your own Christ essence face to face. During this walk, you are right there in the front of the line. And Jesus takes a moment and takes your hands and looks into your eyes as you look into his. And allow yourself to experience that face-to-face encounter in the silence. And as we emerge from that silence, I invite you to keep that felt sense of recognition, of love, of connection, of attunement. I invite you to populate your social media feeds with the peace monks and get a dose of that energy that is attracting people just to come and get a glimpse. A little taste of what it would have been like to do the same in the time of Jesus. This recognition, this need for proximity. You might even sense how you too would extend your hand just to feel the robe and how that would transmit something. Something that endures for millennia. And we bless all of those on our prayer list here at Unity of Tustin with that mystery of recognition and awakening that we have within us to be the people who love our neighbors and love God. And may we love each other. And with that, I invite you to bring your presence back to this now space. Move your body a little bit. Breathe in and out. Arrive. And then we invite up our wonderful prayer chaplain to continue our festival of love and bring us home.
Thank you, Shara, for that message of keeping the humanity. I'm grateful for that. For me personally, it's easy to dehumanize the other, and I'm grateful to be reminded of that. Thank you so much. I'm also grateful to be here at this time to welcome our newcomers and our first-time visitors, both here and our friends online. We are so grateful that you've joined us today. We here at Unity do believe in one God, one heart, and many paths. And our mission is to transform lives and to inspire people to make a positive difference in our world. We are a fully inclusive community of all walks of life and would like you to know that whatever your background, wherever you are in your spiritual path, we are glad that you are here to continue your journey with us. Our ushers are coming forward with flowers and welcome cards for those who are here for the first or second time. So if you're comfortable doing so, we invite you, please raise your hand so that we can recognize you and present you with these gifts. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, and happy birthday, too. Happy birthday back there. And also to our friends online, please drop us an email so that we can add you to our weekly email blasts. We'd love to connect with you that way. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We invite everyone to join us after the service for food and fellowship around the hospitality table. And make sure to stop by our open door welcome center, bookshop reading room. Also, as always, we do have our Reiki practitioners wearing our green ribbons. I forgot my little pin, so I couldn't pin it on there, but I do have it. And the white ribbons, I couldn't find that one, but I'll get one. But we love to be in service. We do feel that deep in our hearts. We'll be waiting for you at the entrance to the meditation gardens, ready to offer prayer and healing support. Of course, all prayers are confidential. We do love to make that connection with you and to be there with you in your request of prayer and healing. In addition, there are prayer request forms in the backs of the seats in front of you. And they're also at the table to the gardens entrance where you may leave your requests in the prayer box. They will be lovingly held in prayer by our silent prayer team ministry. Also, if you would like guidance about using our labyrinth as a spiritual tool, please see a facilitator from the labyrinth ministry. They wear bright blue ribbons and they are usually near the entrance of the labyrinth. There's always so much happening here on our campus of consciousness. Please make sure to check your email each Friday for our weekly e-newsletter and visit the welcome table just outside the door here for information about the many upcoming and ongoing classes, events, and opportunities to serve as part of our beloved Unity of Tustin community. Now we can take our collective loving breath together, and it's time for our love offering as we share our financial gifts in support of this beautiful message today and our beautiful ministry. The various electronic ways to give are here on the screen and are also listed on a card in the seat back in front of you. We also do pass the offering bag to receive in-person donations, so whatever form that you choose to give, we invite you to briefly hold your hand over the offering bag as it passes along. Take a moment to connect with that loving spirit of giving and community. We are grateful for your faith and generosity. Shara.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you for your love and consciousness as being part even of the prayer chaplain lineage. It was first Jim, then John Claude, then Bonnie, and the succession has been with such grace and self-organization. So thank you all. At the celebration of life yesterday, Lisa Kolabar, our former president, told this beautiful story about Kirk. And when she was transitioning into her role as president and having some doubts about her leadership, Kirk came up to her and handed her a check and said, "Every dollar of that check is a vote of confidence for you." We're going through a big transition. And I invite you all to continue to give vote of confidence to yourselves. You know, I'm not going to be here, and I'm not the glue that holds this community together. We've orchestrated it so that's not the case. Nevertheless, it's a big transition. And it is an opportunity for all of us and can continue sustaining this beautiful, beloved community that is so needed, as we heard from Kit, as we know from our own experience, so very deeply. So I do invite you to prayerfully consider your giving and to make the intention to continue to give at similar or even greater levels, because similar or greater things are possible as we are promised by Jesus. So, with that, let us affirm our love offering blessing together. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive in joy. And it's my joy to welcome up again our Voices of Unity Choir, this time with soloist Connie Carter.
silence down in my soul. I love the silence down in my soul. I love the silence down in my soul.
Thank you so much. The Voices of Unity. The choir, awesome. A new day is coming. The changes are coming. How about John Claude Pinto earlier today? Huh? Awesome. And big thanks to our supporting pianist, Jenny. Thank you so much for helping out with Carol and everybody else. All right. Let us say the prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And go forth and love your neighbor.